So Meath 5-9, Kildare 15 points. Meath run out comfortable winners in the end in the Leinster senior football semi-finals. In the end, Dara, you must be happy with that. I mean, it looked worrying at one point in the going into the start of the second half, but 5 goals in the second half. Yeah, a good win in the end for Meath.
Yeah, a game of two halves, as you'd say. Yeah, some comeback from us. I was really worried kind of in the first half. Well, not too worried, but the fact that, Kildare were really, really good defensively, very hard to break down. They had a lot of men behind the ball. They seemed to have a system which was working for them, and it looked like it was paying off. But then I think Meath, came out in the second half. We got the early goal, and I don't know. I think Kildare just lost their shape, panicked a little bit, a few defensive mistakes, and we did capitalise on that. So yeah, it's a good win. I thought we'd only win by 5 points, but yeah, goals win games, and that's the bottom line. And when you score 5 goals, you have a very good chance of winning the game, I suppose.
Mm. Yeah, and I suppose from watching the first half, it looked like Meath in some ways they set up a little differently in some ways to the Wicklow game. Like in the Wicklow game, they're pressed up quite high up the pitch. They didn't really allow Wicklow to have much of the ball. But in this game, they seem to allow Kildare to have like so much possession. Like even in the first half, it would have been interesting to see like possession stats or something, because Kildare just completely dominated the ball, like in the midfield, in the half forward line. Was that a little worrying at one stage in the first half, the fact that like Kildare were just able to control the flow of the game, and that Meath going forward, they were it reminded me a little bit of the Leinster final in some ways, in the fact that they were shooting sometimes from like impossible angles and didn't really seem to have much control going forward.
Yeah, it was like Mead had set up not to lose rather than to win, like the way they are playing. Like they're giving the likes of Highland and Kieran a lot of space. They're calling a good few marks, giving them plenty of space to stick it over. And they're two really good forwards for Kildare. So I think, we finally got to realise we have to play our own game, which is running off the shoulder. We've really good forwards this year and just putting pressure on them and pressing up. And when we did do that, we got the goals. We kind of punished them for their mistakes, and they just couldn't handle the press. So yeah, it wasn't working at the start, but I think we got it right eventually in the end, and that's why I think the game did switch around. But yeah, no, it was a crazy game, all right. And like I said, 12 goals in 2 games for Meath. Something you wouldn't have seen in the last few years, especially for Meath football. So it's very promising. But yeah, it was a bit weird there, the tactics at the start. I think it's good that they kind of realised, and we ended up getting it right then towards the end of the game.
Yeah, like I was starting to think almost are Meath going to do a carry on it, where they're setting up for a game in the future. But if you lose this game, then it's a game that's never going to come. But yeah, definitely in the second half, in the end, they 5 goals like in the second half, 5 different goal scorers as well, like Killian O'Sullivan, Jordan Morris, Matthew Costello, Joey Wallace, Jason Scully, all getting on the score sheet. It must have been mad, especially like in the first 10 minutes, there was 3 goals. Like it must have been mad just watching all them goals go in and thinking, we were behind and now all of a sudden we're in front, even though we actually haven't played that well.
Yeah, when the goals went in, I was thinking, God, like they just kept coming. It was literally like the Wicklow game all over again. And of course, like Jordan Morris getting another goal after his hat trick last week. And another young player, Matthew Costello from wing back, getting a goal and also scoring a point. So he scored 1-1 today from wing back, and I think he's 19 years old, so that's crazy. Also, Killian O'Sullivan had a great game. A bit worrying there at the end. It looked like he picked up a really bad concussion on a bad challenge, I think. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but the fist definitely caught him in the face. But yeah, and even the subs we brought on, really, really, really good impact from them. The likes of James Conlon, Jason Scully, Joey Wallace, all getting on the scoreboard as well. So I think for the first year, our squads, we actually have really good squad depth. Being able to bring on subs which will actually impact the game and make a difference compared to other years where we just kind of lack that, where the likes of Dublin and the bigger teams would have, a really good subs bench.
And I suppose who would have been your man of the match in the game? Because like interesting enough, like Jimmy Hyland was the top scorer in the game. He hit 5 points, but he was on the losing side. But I suppose like who would have been your man of the match?
I'd probably have to give it to Killian O'Sullivan. Even in the first half, when he had the ball, he was still running at them, still trying to make stuff happen, and he was just consistently good throughout the game. But like I said, I wouldn't write off someone like Matthew Costello as well. He had a really good game, scoring 1-1 from wing back, and also did pretty well defensively too. But yeah, I'd probably have to give it to Killian O'Sullivan just for the impact And the way I think he kind of drove Meath forward, even the first half and even in the second half. So yeah, I'd probably give it to Killian O'Sullivan.
Mm. And I suppose, like you said it there, like 12 goals in 2 games, which is just kind of extraordinary, really, in many ways. I suppose kind of we presume it's going to be Dublin anyway, in the final. So I mean, Dublin tend to not concede too much. They don't really concede that many goals. So would that maybe be the only kind of worry, that maybe like points wise you're not quite hitting the margin? Because normally like you'd kind of need to be hitting the 120 or kind of 119 215 kind of mark to really beat the Dubs. So is that maybe the only worry kind of going into that potential final?
Yeah, I thought we got a lot of points from frees. Like we usually have Thomas O'Reilly on the frees, but I think Kildare today were very good defensively. They didn't give away many frees around the middle, although they did give away a few mistakes, which led to goals and other scores. But yeah, it probably is a bit of concern, especially in the first half. Like we only got 9 points in the game, still scoring 5 goals. But yeah, something we're definitely going to have to improve on against Dublin, because I imagine, they're going to try and nullify our attack as much as they can, and we're going to need point scores. But yeah, it'll definitely be a good test. It'll be interesting to see how we line up against yourselves and what way tactically it's going to play out. But I imagine we'll probably be playing you, and it'll be interesting to see how you do against Leash as well.
Yeah. Like I found it interesting, all right, the way Meath played at times, because they tend to break quite quickly on the ball. And I feel like that's one of the areas you can't hurt Dublin a little bit, is like when you win the ball back, if you kind of move it really quickly, move it into the halfback line, and you need to be quick with it. Like you can't really keep the ball or play from side to side, because then Dublin will get into their defensive shape and you won't be able to break them down. So yeah, maybe kind of how they set up in this game, might suit them a bit, because they've had a way of playing like that. So they'll be able to play like that going into potential Dublin game. But I suppose, it's looking good for the future anyway for me at the moment, with the likes of Jordan Morris scored and Matthew Costello as well.
And Shane Walsh as well, putting in a shift, like so many young players. Carl Hickey also coming on, scoring a great point too. So yeah, it is really bright. And like I said, it'll be a good match when we play Dublin. We are counter-attacking side nearly, the amount of goals we get. We attack at pace off the shoulder, which can be very hard to defend. But like with Dublin's experience and a very good game management, it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, Dublin also have a great attack as well. And probably the one thing they have over us is that they have, probably better forwards of a better range of scoring and shooting, from further out, the likes of Conor Callahan and a few others. So it'll be interesting that anyway, see how it plays out, I imagine.
Perfect. Well, I'll link everything down below, Dara, anyway, like from your YouTube channel and your gloves and everything else. And cheers for coming on.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me on.